So let's go ahead and call the meeting order to 6:03.
Take the shot. Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from November 14th, 2017, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Additions and deletions, I'd like to add a letter of correspondence under highway. And then under correspondence, I need to add a letter from the food shop. Is there any other additional or deletions?
I did send out, I don't know if the members of the public will be here or not. I did not get confirmation on that,
Okay.
so.
All right, then going ahead and moving on to the highway. Why don't you go ahead and give your report, and then we'll ask the questions on the follow-ups on some of these.
All right, last meeting I came tardy and we're at the end of the banquet there, and the Jake Beatty bill,
Yep, that's in tonight's.
that's in tonight's?
There it is.
Okay, well, can I talk about it now?
Mhm.
Okay. I felt like he did like a third of the town. And he did half of the job of a third of the town. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he only made one pass. So he did like a sixth of his job, essentially. Maybe a fifth, maybe 20%. But, because he did a little over 25 miles, he says. What he did fine, did a nice job and stuff, but I can't see that amount. If you go, even a fifth of $9,500 is less than that, so.
Well, he, like I said,
We never agreed on an hourly rate.
right. It was a
And-
contract for a set amount.
And if that's the case, he did X amount of that set amount, so I think we should pay him the percentage. I like Jake, he did a great job and stuff, but just, he didn't do, and I asked him to do the blacktop first, in case he breaks them. All the blacktop was done first.
Has anybody spoken to the man?
I haven't seen him since the day he broke his tractor.
Well, I think before we do anything on this particular bill, we owe him the courtesy of having some kind of a conversation
Yeah.
about just that.
Well, I agree with you, but you asked my opinion.
Right, and if that's the way you would like to go, I hope somebody will be able to speak to him and explain the situation.
'Cause I never got a call from him that he wasn't gonna complete.
Neither did I. He just came in with a bill in hand and said, look, it's
Well,
broken down.
Yeah,
It's the
then
end
you
of
emailed
October.
me and that was the end of it.
Right.
I never got a call or anything from him.
It's the end of October. It was November, I guess, sometime.
It's
But-
cell phone, cell phone in this area is not good.
So would you be able to speak to him about
I will,
what
like I
you
did
saw?
before, I will go through his mother to get a hold of him because I've called the cell phone and if he's not anywhere.
Okay, well then if you come back to us then with a recommendation as far as percentage, whether you end up in a negotiations or whatever it is you decide to do with that, we'll hold on to the bill until such time as we hear from you then.
The network inventory, I see that on here. I talked to 2 weeks ago before our last meeting. Jeff Nugent had completed his go around through town here and he was doing up a report for us. And that's the last I talked to him was 2 weeks ago.
When are the maps supposed to be available?
Pardon me?
When are the maps supposed to be available?
I don't know. I don't know.
So they already finished their survey in Townsend?
Yeah.
Did all that? Yeah, okay.
He stopped and talked to me several different times when I was out working and had questions on Linden Hill and whatnot. We just did ditching up there and lots of stone line ditches and everything. And he did get a hold of me 3 different times. Green Mountain Flagging called me, an outstanding bill.
That's right?
They flagged for us. Remember I had them on, I called so many people to flag for us because there is no opportunity this summer for people. And they did call and then send somebody down for a couple, I forget how many days now.
Well, that was the one where we had an issue with the times
With the
not
overlapping times.
lining up.
Yeah.
And we asked you about it and we never really had you in a chair to answer yes, no, pay it. or explain why the times didn't line up. I can't find it right now, what was the number?
It's probably the last, well,
No, it's number 7. So, you know, if you wanna, again, if they called you, they're aware now that they haven't
Yeah,
been
well,
paid.
they left a message, I haven't talked to them.
The reason that they haven't been paid is because we did have those questions about,
Well, I don't remember the questions. Did you ask any questions before?
let me find it.
It was one of the questions was there was, on one day they charged us 8 hours plus an hour travel. And then the next day they charged us 8 hours plus an hour travel plus 2 half hours.
Yep,
That was the question,
Oh,
right?
I have no idea what half hours, unless they charge for working through lunch, because we work through lunch when we have a flag.
right, we had 2 people at 7 hours each. And then on that same day, there's a 1 hour charge, I'm assuming that's transportation, or that's travel time.
Sure.
And then we have 2 people the next day at 8 hours apiece. Then we have the half hour, 2 different rates. And then we've got the 1 hour again, coming in there, I'm assuming travel time.
Well, we had 2
That was
different.
all Grafton Road.
Yes, yeah,
Okay, and then we moved on to Wyndham Hill,
yes.
and we had a day each at 6.25 plus an hour travel.
Mhm.
So
I
the question was those
The question is
hours.
that half
I
hour.
don't know what the half hours are for, to be honest with you. Unless that team charged, do they charge for lunch? I don't know. And the other guys didn't, I have no idea. If you want me to call them up and ask, I will.
I'm more than anything, if we could, they could just explain the invoice, having just rates and hours.
What's the
here.
number of that invoice?
I'll make a photocopy for you if you want.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have, invoice number 25617.
But I think as much as the other question was, is what are the different rate, there was different rates
So
there
one guy
for
be
the
the
same
boss,
job.
one guy could be the boss of the crew, and the
Yeah, I
other.
mean, did people based on seniority, et cetera, they could have different wages.
Or by height.
I could do that too. So is that all you really need is just the, would you like a copy of the invoice?
I'll just ask, I'll tell them the invoice, they should have that on their computer.
Okay. And that's the only reason that one's been stuck
Yeah,
in
it's
mud.
just that weird half hour.
The word I
We
found,
couldn't figure out what it was.
but it's also on here with the Beck Engineering. On the same invoice, the questions that were being asked at Beck
Oh,
about
about the bridge
the bridge.
and the guardrails.
Mhm.
Yes.
No, well, the guardrails on the bridge, I'm assuming, but
Yes.
anyway, there's some charges here on, I guess it's 507 for Beck. That was, Bridge 42 questions, that's the only way it's listed.
Were there 2 charges on the same day?
He charged us for answering the same question
Twice, that's what it was.
and then Clark gets to ask everything he wants and there's no charge.
Basically. Yeah, because it was $108 for a call from the town that Craig made to talk about the bids. And then there was a call from you talking about the bids for the same 108. And there was a call from the town representative with the same questions as the day before for 72. And then we get into the review the bids for the bridge, which was all, Craig took them up there, that's all
Yeah,
legitimate.
that's all fine.
But it's all that initial telephone call, not understanding.
Yeah, and I talked to Jessica with you. I mean, it wasn't a long call. It was just, would you guys be willing to take a look at the bids? If there, that was one of my calls anyway.
No, this would have been earlier than that.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I called them because I had a question about the guardrails they had on there, because all 4 contractors that were there were questioning that type of guardrail on that bridge.
Saying the V-Train's design was different, or
Yeah,
The
they were,
code
yeah,
changed.
something different than they normally do, and they were just, so that's why I called Jess Rizio, because I wanted to make sure everything was.
They didn't charge for that.
They didn't charge for that.
They did not. This says, call from A.S. Clark about guardrail attachment.
That was A.S. Clark,
That was, but again,
but I called about it in the beginning, when I got, right after we did the bids. Right
No,
after we had that bid meeting.
the way the dates are here, we're going all the way back to, first of all, April. And that was a call from Craig to review the previous bids for the bridge and whatnot, email Craig. So we didn't have any previous bids.
No.
We had
We didn't have previous bids.
specs.
We had bids for
For the construction of the bridge from two different
Okay.
manufacturers.
manufacturers.
Okay, so that happened in April.
Right.
And then in August, there was a call from you. And then the next day, there was a call from somebody, probably Craig. And then it goes all the way to the 5th, September 5th, when Clark called about the guardrail attachment. So whatever happened on the 29th and the 30th, seemed to be 2 calls, one from you, one from the town representative with the same questions. And they're charging us $180 for it. And that's why it's being held, because we don't understand what we're being charged for, not to mention the fact we're going all the way back to April into another fiscal year. So if you would like to speak to Beck and try to figure out what's going on, it would be helpful if they do want to get paid, because I've got,
Will we get charged for asking about the bill?
for us, probably.
You might want to have Clark call.
I'll give you Archie's number, you can have him call. Okay. Have Archie call us, he doesn't seem to get charged for things. Or maybe he's been paying it separate, I don't know, but that's what that was about,
Okay,
okay?
sure. That started in April, and the April, 2 main charges, or 3 main charges?
It was 1 April,
And
The
August
one that's
was-
questionable though are the 2 that are back to back, right around the time you had the contractors conference,
right, the 29th and the,
which I think the conference was on the 28th or the 29th.
The
Right at the
29th.
end of August.
supposedly you called on the 29th, and then somebody from the town called on the 30th of August. Those are the 2 that were,
I called that day about the guardrails.
that must be what it is.
Right after the meeting, I called about the guardrails.
It says, call from Kurt with questions, find previous bid files. That's what
Right,
it says.
exactly. If she had to look up the bid files again to see what she had put down on
Okay,
the
and
plans.
okay.
That was the guardrails for me.
Okay, that was.
Right after I
That
came
was
back.
45 minutes.
Yeah, I came back to the shop and I talked to her about that. Because I had the plans in my hand, of course, because I was at the meeting and I was quizzing her on the plans, so.
Okay, the next day, there was another call for half an hour from somebody else with the same question.
And they put that on the invoice and asked
See,
the same question.
I may have called them, but I never got into the details of the construction.
You
I
would
simply
not,
wanted,
no.
no, I wanted them to
Well, I
look at
have
it.
no idea what the next day
Well,
was.
that's what we were trying to figure out.
Yeah, you would call them just to
I
ask
called
them.
to see, would they still be,
Would they-
because they had done the
Would
pre-engineering,
they
we had
look at
paid
the-
them out of the grant, and we had paid our share and all of them. But I called to see if they were still viable to, after the select board meeting that following Tuesday, when we got the bids in, or whenever that due date was, if I could bring to them, or if they would at least review them with an expert's eye. I mean, they
Right.
obviously did the engineering, so, to take a look at them, and said, sure, no problem, drop them off. And, so we did, and that was taken
So if you could find
half an
out
hour
what
later. I
that
talked to them.
duplicate, that day-to-day thing was,
Yeah,
that,
29th and 30th.
that'd be appreciated. Did you have anything else for us then?
Shirks, what's his name, Shirks?
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, I did a
Do
little.
you want me to read the letter first?
Hey, we got a letter from Ellen.
I'll read,
Oh, you already got a letter from him?
I'll read the letter before you go into an explanation, okay?
I hope it's a good letter.
It says, Dear Townshend Selectboard, on Monday afternoon, November 27th, 2017, we noticed that part of our stone wall next to Simpson Brook Road had fallen down. We also noticed that some grading of the road had been done. I went to the highway department and talked with Kurt Bostrom about it. He immediately came to our home to take a look. He quickly saw how the grading work caused the damage. He said he would have it repaired the next morning. Indeed, he and a co-worker arrived this morning and did the repair. We are very satisfied with the responsiveness and quality of the work that Kurt and the highway department did.
Jeez, I'm gonna have to look at my property line now.
So,
Okay, hit a wall.
you hit a wall.
Well, that's good.
Okay?
That is really rapid correspondence.
So, is there anything else that you needed to add, or you wanna,
No, that's it.
okay? The only other thing is the sternum.
Yes,
And
have-
I guess Craig's got the pictures of it.
Yeah, the details.
and I wrote down an email with details.
Okay, so he does have that to put
We
in.
have the whole package?
Yeah.
Um,
Balls are on it, everything is working.
The big question is to whether or not exactly how we're going to do this, whether we're going to put it out to the highest bidder, whether we're not really sure how to go about it. because-
Sealed bid envelope, certain date, certain, select board reserves the right, or
Reserve-
just the
yeah.
highest general bid, call Kurt.
Well, you gotta do select board reserves, right?
Well, yeah, the leak under the seat, is that been?
Yes, that's all fixed. I rebuilt the valves, body on that, yeah.
Hello, come on in. How are you?
Good, that's great. Hi.
So, it's ready to go. Do you have any preference as to how, because you're gonna probably end up handling or fielding the questions that come up about the truck.
I mean, I'll probably put both numbers in, but they're gonna, any questions that come here on how to do this, I can answer, but any questions about the vehicle itself, they
They're
need
gonna
to
have
talk
to
to
get a
you.
hold of me.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay, so we'll get it out, what's your pleasure as far as how to put it? Do we wanna do a straight sealed bid? Do we wanna do highest bidder? What, I mean, how do you wanna go about sealed envelope, just,
I don't know, sealed envelope seems to be the most straightforward.
you wanna set a,
You wanna seal
set
it
a
on
minimum?
an opening date.
yeah,
Yeah.
is that what, is the way we wanna go?
Yeah.
And we'll get it set up.
With the reserved rights.
Right.
You have
Right, yeah.
you have a meeting on the, whatever it is, the 13th of what is it, the 12th. And the next meeting is the day after, 2 days after Christmas, so I think you probably wanna maybe do it in between there and there. But do you wanna set a minimum price?
Yeah,
Highest
we know
bid
what-
over,
Well, you
highest
guys
bid over.
have a minimum price. You gotta write in the description of the bid that if they did not win the bid, we will not be getting in touch.
Okay.
Because it's a pain in the neck getting in touch with people that,
Right.
I didn't get it,
Right.
I'm sorry, quick, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, just put something, you will be notified only if you are.
Only the winner of the bid will be notified.
Okay, does that sound good?
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have for you. If you could follow up on those things and get back to us, we will hold
Do
those.
you? But you won't pay this until the next meeting anyway, Jafar, okay, so if I get it, okay, just want to let these people know also.
Right. And let-
Maybe that'll expedite things with their
Exactly.
information.
If they talk to you, they will.
It's usually a good way to get the answer.
Then we'll make sure that it's in the next go around, which I believe is what's the next meeting?
I'm sorry, 12th.
The 12th? So that would be the next time, they'd be paid roughly on the 15th.
Okay, what's-
Yeah, but there's no calendars, so you just kind of
Well,
guess.
we have,
Yeah, we have lots of calendars. Anyway, so if you,
I will get a hold of Nugent also. You wanna-
Okay,
you wanna-
yes.
You wanna know about the maps?
well, I was just curious because supposedly it was all going to be done so we could make. we could
network
do-
inventory needs to be done by December 31st. I mean, that was the
Well-
problem. And our contract with them expires on December 31st.
But wasn't there an extension by the state?
No, but this
Not
is-
that we signed with Chris.
No, this is for Wyndham Region. We signed the
Their work
contract
should be done before the
directly by them, and so they have to be completed by the 31st.
12/31. And then.
But
Yes, they do.
most of it is the network inventory gonna be complete? You know, where are we in the other, on the hydrology project, but mostly the network inventory.
Right.
So that, anything we do next year, we're back in on the 10% line.
Okay, all right.
Right, thank you.
Oh, Kurt, I also wanted to thank you for taking care of the hole on the bridge on back when.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that bridge is, that's gonna be, I might have that on a special project. I might get some estimates on that bridge that needs attention.
Okay.
There's a wing wall on that bridge.
It's the Stone Arch Bridge Club.
Yeah.
Looking
You guys got a
at,
plot?
No,
no.
it's not a club. Well, you can join if you'd like.
Everything numbers.
So, let's go ahead and take the agenda out of order and move to members of the public.
This is Crystal Mansfield.
Hello. Did you have something that you needed to talk to us about?
Yeah.
No,
I
okay.
don't know all of you though. I know Craig.
I'm
I met him
Craig.
a couple weeks ago.
This is
I know
Joe Day,
Joey
this is Joe
Gatlin.
Day now.
I know Joe.
This is
Day.
Will
Bissonnette.
Will Bissonnette.
Robert Wright, Kathy Heggie, she's the chair, Stephen Frisk.
Stephen, what's your last name?
First.
And this is the entire select board?
Herb
This is
Salt.
Herb's-
Needs, yeah,
Okay, okay.
Therapy somewhere.
Yeah, well, not now. I just came from there, so.
He went to Dartmouth.
So my name's Crystal Mansfield. I live here in Townsend. I've lived here for about 12 years. And I'm actually here just to figure out with you how the select board might consider warning or putting something on the town meeting agenda this year so that we could talk about law enforcement support in this town again. And I don't know how that process happens. I don't know what has happened recently, why we don't have sheriff support anymore, but I would like to at least have that conversation either with you all or with the town, whoever shows up for town meeting, and see if we could get a vote on some funding for more support.
Well, first of all, I will begin by saying the town has gone back and forth between the state police and the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
One of the issues that we do get into with the sheriff's department is the fact that they do not man their dispatch desk after 7 o'clock at night. So that if you have an emergency or some type of an issue, you do not call the sheriff's department. So as far as continuous type coverage, that was always a hole. It was going to fall back to the state police anyway, which one of the reasons we made the decision to move forward with the state police. As far as the discussion about law enforcement, I think we pretty well had come to a kind of a tentative agreement that it's going to be a separate article.
It always was.
No, it don't,
Well,
not always,
not
but
always, but
we
more
kind of
times than
decided it was going to be a separate article,
To be warned separately.
to be warned separately from the budget of the town, which means it is addressed and money is appropriated specifically for that purpose. It can't be used for anything else if it's a separate article. So if we were to put an article in that said, does the town want to engage in professional law enforcement? If so, how much, type thing, then that would be the avenue to have that discussion about the amount of money that you would like to see the town investing in law enforcement. The one thing I will tell you is there is legislation at the state level right now that is going to require the towns to have some kind of law enforcement, whether it's piggybacking with another local service, which our closest ones are either Brattleboro or Dover. So there isn't even really anybody for us to piggyback with. They're talking about taking away the state police, their ability to contract with the towns, which would put it back to the sheriff. Now, I don't know at that point in time if the sheriff would move forward and start manning the dispatch desk or not. So I'm not really sure where we're gonna end up in this mess. And if the town has to take on the responsibility of law enforcement itself, that's going to mean hiring two people. That means stepping a car. That means having some place where an office where these people can work. And that's a substantial amount of money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of in the same boat that the public is in, and I know the majority of the public doesn't understand how kind of convoluted the whole system is. But we have explored many options, and
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is there are very few options and none of them fulfill every need, so
And
we have to find the average that closest matches what we need.
neither the state police nor the sheriff's office services up in the hills very much. I mean, it's not, they will
I
run
disagree with
rounds.
that. I will tell you that having been a resident here for 13 years, living in Townsend Acres, the sheriff has been in the past very responsive when a community member calls with a complaint.
during the day.
During the day, of course,
Yeah.
during the day, yeah. But even in the evening, hasn't been the sheriff, it has been the state police that have come up in there. But not, as you all well know, not certainly within the last year up in there, and not in any way, shape, or form in any kind of response to this latest tragedy that we had up there.
The state police?
They
I live at the bottom of the hill, and I sat there and counted the cars.
they were 90 minutes late. I was first on the scene at that
When we
fire.
had Keith Clark here, Keith basically told us that he either wanted all the money or none of the money.
So
correct.
he wanted,
Right
he
or wrong?
wanted to not have the state police.
Well,
Is that right or
they
wrong?
won't,
So he didn't want to have like a split of the Townsend's revenue of what we were putting toward law enforcement. And that's when we said, well, you've made our choice for us. And that's when we went with the state police. Whether the state police put in the full amount of time, we can't stand there and put a finger on it, but it's like, that's where we were at. Where it's like, okay, we have this amount of work to work with, we can either get the state police and not the sheriffs, or the sheriffs and not the state police. State police are willing to do some of the, little more than just a traffic ticket, and that type of stuff. So, do you wanna have somebody jurisdict your speed and what you're doing with your motor vehicle, or do you wanna have somebody that's gonna do maybe a little bit of investigative work, maybe stray outside of the line of like the motor vehicle stops and that stuff? And that's where we were.
And we did try, we tried with a community officer one year, and it worked fairly well until such time as the officer hurt himself. And he had to resign from the position, and we never really had anyone step back into that position at the same level. And again, we've had multiple discussions at town meeting over the issue of law enforcement, and there are people in the town that are adamant that they don't want to spend any more money on law enforcement. So that is the forum to have this discussion. And it will be up to the voters to decide how much money they're willing to put forth to be able to decide what level of service is going to happen. As far as controlling the service once we contract for it, we literally can't do that. Our job is to just take whatever the voters say in the way of monetary compensation and have a contract with one of the two agencies. Okay?
And Kathy, is there room for, I mean, I wonder sometimes if people vote and they're not clear on what they're voting for, is there like an educational opportunity for the community prior to town meeting or prior, just
You could do it at a grassroots level.
Uh-huh.
We always have a pre-town meeting, which again.
Question and answers on what the
Right,
articles are.
for exactly that reason, why is this here? What discussion, for example, we will have to have that discussion about law enforcement prior to ever even considering the budget. Because depending on what they come up with a number that they're comfortable with, then we'll have to insert that into whatever budgetary amount we ask for. So it becomes also a logistical problem for us as to how these questions are asked and answered, so that we get to that final number and know what we need to raise in taxes as well. So my guess would be a grassroots effort would be good. We will have a pre-town meeting to be able to discuss those issues. There's nothing to preclude. Well, it'll be a separate article in the morning. Everybody will get a town report, hopefully, if there is a God this year. So they will be aware that it's on the warning. But as far as a mailing, if someone wanted to do that, a postcard that says, we're going to have this discussion, please attend, that wouldn't be such a bad idea either.
But it's also communications too. Because the town will set the funding at whatever rate, whether it's in the budget or a special article, whether it's 20,000 or 25 or 50 or wherever the town. And the select board will contract with an agency. Essentially that, I don't want to say that completes it. Sometimes we have reports from whoever's in charge. That individual will come in once a month or once every couple of months and give a report on what they've been doing. But basically they will take that yearly contract and they'll divide it into so many hours projected per week. And some will be more and some will be less, but they generally factored on X number of hours per week, given the money as it splits out over the course of the year. With feedback from the community that we want more presence on State Forest Road, or more up in the acres, or more up on Acton Hill, or we're noticing people that we don't recognize, that kind of thing. That can get back to the agent and they can actually dispatch people up there. I mean, they get into their routines of sitting and running radar, or driving through town and making the usual passes, and sometimes traveling certain roads. But if the board knows that people have concerns about things, then if that's communicated, then our liaison with the agency or the board itself can contact them and say, hey, can you put a little more emphasis on? We've got some issues down here. Or
We did that when the break-ins were occurring at the farm.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And we had spoken to the barracks commander
Yep,
at the
right,
state
before.
police and asked him to do some unusual patrol times, because these were happening late at night and nobody was really viewing what was going on, so we did ask them to do that, and I know they did. I was
For a while, yeah, no, for a while, and if you keep after it, they will incorporate that into part of.
Again, everybody seems to think that the area that they live in is the area that needs the priority, and they have to understand it's an entire town. So West Townsend just had a break-in, they're going to feel right now that they're a very high priority as well. But if we're aware of where these issues are, we can certainly point them out to the commander, and just when he's got officers in the area, just say, we would like you to do a drive-by of this area, or focus for a week on this particular area. And it has to be done on a routine basis, because these troopers are working overtime. So when they're off shift, regular time, they're picking up overtime by coming into these communities on contract. And it's always a different trooper, so you never have the same person. It would have to be a kind of a routine thing that we would get into a communication loop with the commander and just remind him whatever the new hotspot is that we need officers' attention there. So, I mean, it is something we can definitely work with, but short of really having a local police force, I just don't know how we could accommodate everybody's needs from speeding on down. You know, we all have issues, we all have an area that is of concern to all of us. And that's the only way I can think of that we could actually solve that, and I don't think we can afford it.
Evening, Irv.
Okay, so grassroots effort prior to the
As far as discussion,
town meeting,
yeah.
just to discuss what the options might look like, and how would I educate, Mr. Stoll, how would I educate myself on that? I mean, is that something that you would drive before town meeting, so that you can help people
And most people,
understand?
Sheriff Clark and the liaison from the state would be happy to come and speak with people if there was I mean, they'll certainly talk to the board, but I mean, that can be arranged too.
Right.
If there are serious questions. They're both different, they do different things in different ways. But at the same time, you know, it's up to the board how they choose, but it's up to the people to kind of give them some direction.
And if you decide you'd like to have some kind of a focus like that, prior to town meeting, it's hard to get people out at that time of year, it's so darn cold. But at the same time, we could certainly make arrangements to have them come down and
Try.
Sure.
just have a
Yeah.
public meeting, a special public meeting for people just to have that law enforcement discussion.
Yeah, okay. And at town meeting, that article is a voice vote or a ballot vote?
It's always a voice vote, but you
And
always
so-
have the option to ask for a paper ballot,
Okay.
always.
Okay, and so every, when I go to town meeting, what happens at town meeting is the people, this is gonna sound terrible.
Stays at town meeting.
The few people that show up for town meeting out of this community really are driving what the town is doing for the
Correct.
next year.
Yes.
So the more people that were there to vote at town meeting on this, on any issue, but certainly on this issue, there's no write-in, there's no pre-vote, there's no nothing, it happens at town meeting.
Yep.
On the checklist.
If they're on the voter checklist, right? Well, then there's that. but, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, from that standpoint, you're absolutely correct. It's the majority of the people sitting in the room that are making the decision.
Mhm.
And that's not usually a high percentage of the actual membership of the town. Okay? And if you have concerns or you want to organize something like that, get back in touch with Craig and we'll try to work something out so that we can have that. At this point in time, we haven't finished the warning yet, but as I said, the initial discussion we had was to leave that as a separate article anyway. So my guess is at this point in time, it's safe to bet that that is going to be a separate discussion at town meeting, not part of the budget, separate.
Okay,
Okay?
good. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
You too?
All right, then moving back up to the town clerk, you should have all gotten a copy of the counter money for the last couple of weeks. And Mr. Treasurer,
$1,266,502.20 $0.46. The checking account is $29,940.
What'd you spend the $60 on?
No, 40.
I thought you said
Should be 30.
60 mil, yeah, there's 60 missing.
Yeah, oh, that's right, there is.
What did you spend it on?
I'm not telling.
Okay. Okay, then let's move on to the warrants.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 1, hit out of the payroll in the amount of $8,288.49.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll warrant number 1 in the amount of $8,288.49 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, opposed?
Aye.
Oh, I get to vote, I get to break this time. I'll vote in the affirmative, the motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 2 in payroll taxes in the amount of $3,348.60.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll withholding warrant number 2 in the amount of $3,348.60 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Irv abstains, the motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 3 out of the equipment fund in the amount of $10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying equipment warrant number 3 in the amount of $10 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Irv abstains, the motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 4 out of the general fund in the amount of $2,782.23.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 2 in the amount of $2,782.23 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with 1 abstention.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 5 out of the highway fund in the amount of $3,738.55.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 5 in the amount of $3,738.55 signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion fails.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 6 out of the equipment fund in the amount of $1,108.77.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying equipment warrant number 6 in the amount of $1,108.77 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with 1 abstention.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 8 out of the highway fund.
No, 7. Oh, I wrote, there, not 7.
Sorry.
Okay.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 7 out of the highway fund in the amount of $2,154.49.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is the.
That's the Beck
That's
and,
The Beck and the flagging bill.
Yep.
right.
Yeah. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 7 in the amount of $2,154.49 signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion fails.
Motion to pay check warrant number 8 out of the highway fund in the amount of $2,937.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? This is the mowing bill.
Mowing.
That's mowing, right?
Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 8 in the amount of $2,937.50 signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion fails. All right. Then we'll move on to the snow blowers. Because I can find the communication. Okay. Oh, that's good. Have a clip on it. Okay, select board members, the West River SnoGoers Snowmobile Club requests permission to ride snowmobiles on the edge of or across the following town-maintained roads during the snowmobile season from December 15th, 2017 to April 15th, 2018. Sawdust Alley along the top on the side of the snowbanks, Oberhill Road, the entire length down 35, Pekin Mountain Road to cross by Fletcher resident, Riverdale Road to cross by the Greenwood resident, Taft Road to cross by Ryan residents, by Barnum residents, and below Burbank Lane, Jordan Hill Road to cross by power lines in the old hippie house. I love the way this is worded. Simpson Brook Road to cross by Charles residence driveway, back Wyndham Road to cross about 200 yards south of Taft Hill Farm, Deer Valley Road to cross by the power line. We also request permission to use the following roads that are not plowed in the winter. East Hill Road, southern end above Harmonyville from Holt Farm to the bottom of the hill, Elmware Road, the entire unplowed section. It has been brought to our attention that a locked gate has been placed near the entrance to the town gravel pit. Will this be unlocked and open for snowmobile season since this trail gives riders access to the Harmonyville store? Sincerely, Westford SnoGoers, K. Wister. So the big question here, I mean, the routes are not any different. The big question here is the gate.
Problem we're gonna have is, over Hill Road, they're gonna be logging in there. They've already moved in,
Really?
What's that got to do with the snowmobile?
because they'll be using that same road that snowmobiles use.
You know, they ride right along and just keep going.
Not gonna hit a logging truck or a skid row.
But the thing
Oh,
is, during the day when they're working there, but actually, while they're going above the town road, it's not a road anymore, so there ain't nothing to us anyways.
Yeah, but there's a lot of trails that get logged throughout the year.
But I
The
say,
snowmobile should use caution, no
I
matter
know
what.
it should, but do they? No, not
Well,
always.
that's not up to us to make sure.
Yes, it is, because we got big pockets and the first one to get sued.
We can, well, yeah, but we're not doing logging and they're just talking about the lower part of Overhill Road to Route 35, which should be okay. I mean, that's pretty
Yep,
visible.
they're logging that whole, they're logging all that piece of, on the top.
That whole, yeah, that whole.
And all the way
watershed.
down, they'll be coming clear down over this side with them.
We can certainly let them know. There'll be
Yeah, no,
logging
I-
activity, but I'm sure they're
I'm
running
just-
the
I
logging
just brought
activity in
this
a lot
up.
of places. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
The big
okay.
question is, are we gonna unlock the gate?
Well, that also brings up another question.
Yes, it does.
When Craig and I went out to view the damage to the loader, we noticed there's a bridge that's been put in across the brook down there. Now, the town didn't put the bridge in, and we're not certain who put the bridge in.
There was a
So,
bridge there a long time ago, first, that got taken down by somebody, one of the residents, and this one was erected again. So it's
Oh, as a
not,
replacement.
it's not like a,
Like
not
it
that
came out of
it's never
nowhere?
been there, or it's like a new path or anything, it's been there.
Yeah, but even when they was there before,
years.
it was never asked permission.
I'm
Does,
not-
is
I
that,
didn't
is
say
that part of the
it was,
gravel
I'm
pit?
saying that
Does the gravel pit go right up to the brook there?
Because right up the front of that road.
Okay, so I mean, that portion, where that bridge is, basically, it ends on private land, I would
In
assume. but-
fact, the gravel pit line is above the pit this way.
well, I'm just curious about the different liability issues we had, both with the bridge and with the gate.
Well, we shouldn't have a loader there in the wintertime, I mean, with regard to keeping the gate closed, but,
No.
I mean, for vandalism purposes and all the rest, but they've kept that, I guess, pretty well locked, and it has kept people out, I assume.
I hope this one, they burn that big pile of rush when the snow on it. They're supposed to have last year.
I'll have to remind them. Again.
So what's your pleasure as far as the request?
Can't get around that gate with a snowmobile?
No.
There's enough.
I mean, it's not like people are going in there stealing gravel. So,
Well, they're doing that too.
Well-
You're really not keeping track of that.
no, but,
But see, the Like up on top of the hill where that road is, they can't really use it because they can't get by Bellstones. They have to go off before they get to Bellstones, I guess, to come down around. Towards the gravel pit.
I mean, I'm inclined to leave it open just for snowmobile season.
As long as it isn't plowed.
Right. I mean, I guess the question is, what does that open up for us liability wise?
Oh, they plow out the gravel pit in the wintertime, don't they? They go in there, sure.
They do that before they remove snow, but they generally keep a trail in there for the fire trucks.
Yeah.
Well, that and for shooting.
Well,
So did someone want to make a motion, dealing with the route that's been outlined and the gate?
I'd make a motion to keep the gate open for the winter time and allow the West River SnoGoers to use the routes that they've spec'd out here.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of allowing the SnoGoers to use the route that's been outlined and leaving the gate unlocked to the gravel pit for the snowmobile season from December 15th through April 15th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
I'll abstain too, there's 2 abstentions.
Well, second it.
Motion passes then.
Yep, 2 extensions.
All right. Then,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and the food shop. All right, here's a note we received, whom it may concern. The Townshend Community Food Shelf has received your check dated 10/25/17 in the amount of $700. Thank you, and the citizens of Townshend for your continued support. Sincerely, Pat Lincoln, Secretary. We just got a letter of thank you for one of the last year's social service checks. All right.
Nice.
Okay, so that can go back, that can go back. Okay, that can go back, we got it. All right, then moving on, legal matters update. Craig and I went to court, again. When did we go?
Wednesday morning, right?
That's right before Thanksgiving, I can't even remember when we went. The matter with Lisa Johnson, the judge did in fact suggest, and our attorney agreed, that we move for summary judgment on the case, which from my understanding of what's going on is the judge sent to the court clerk a letter, a judgment order that basically said she has 14 days to remove herself or whoever's living there from the premises. And it has to go through the whole legal process of notifying her that she's got 14 days from the time this order is tacked to her door to actually remove herself, at which time it instructed Keith Clark to enter the premise and allow the town to take access of the property. So I'm not really certain at this point in time whether the TAC order's gone out. We haven't seen a signed copy from the court clerk of the actual order to vacate. So we're
No mail today. I'm
so
gonna
we're
check
kind
this
of up in
afternoon.
the area.
So we're just waiting for the tax order to
When,
go up.
when that 14 days is actually, the countdown is going to begin.
You had a holiday, and then the hope was that this would be buttoned up before Christmas, at which time we would be able to go out with law enforcement and enter the premises.
But is the water on in that place
No.
and freeze?
No, there's no power to the place, as far as I know right now, there wasn't last spring. There hasn't been.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Freeze
But it
up.
doesn't mean the pipes have been drained in 2 years either.
No,
Well,
that's
it was empty last year, or at least part of the year, so it's quite
Yeah.
possible with no heat, that any water that was left in, like fixtures and whatnot, they're all gone anyway.
Yeah.
As soon as we have opportunity to go in, we'll all go out and have an assessment.
Have a meeting there.
Oh, won't that be fun?
Yes, sir.
No, not without a hazard.
Hazmat suit, yeah.
Oh, been in worse places than that.
And the other legal matter that we're following, that court date is set for the 15th of December. All right, then the 2018 budget, we had a workshop, and the three of us kind of got our feet wet as to what the order might look like for the warning, for the presentation, for the budget. I need to know when you would absolutely like to, I think Chris got a handout with numbers that have been
This is
plugged
what
in.
you did before, and there are two ways of doing this. One, I can leave a blank line on this, but it wipes out all the things you put in. So I'm putting the numbers in. The
Yep.
zeros you don't have to tend to.
Okay.
So this is current as of this afternoon, with numbers filled in, which are not, fixed. But anyway, there are three sections. There's a general fund that's 8 pages, a highway fund that's 3. There's not much in the highway fund yet. And we don't have any numbers for equipment yet on the back pages, that last 3 pages. But anyway, these are most of what we discussed on,
Whatever day that was.
whatever, Monday last week. And there's some lifting that the board has to do with regard to, well, as you well know, some of the spending on wages and things like that. A lot of the things that we do know, as I say, have been plugged in. And there are departments that are working on their budgets. The fire department is not.
Yeah, we
Planning
got
Commission.
the fire.
Planning Commission has put theirs in,
Okay.
and I believe the fire department have put in as well. Just as it is, doesn't mean you can't change something.
Right.
And I think there may be some tweaking on some of these, but basically this is some of the easy stuff to do.
So one of the questions becomes, when would you like to meet and actually get down and get serious about doing some of this, coming up with some kind of a budget?
Sooner the better, I would think. Right? Next
We
week.
have some time to work through it.
Yeah.
No. Thank you. All right. We're moving into December. Oh, are we excited? Does anybody have any preferences these days?
Just a reminder.
Okay. But any day of the
So our
week?
next meeting's at 12, so to
It's
the
12th.
week of the 4th or the week of the 18th?
Well, I think we're gonna need to do something the week of the 4th.
Yeah.
Either that or have a marathon session on the 12th, one of the two.
Don't make it a Friday.
Should we do next Tuesday?
I
Is that the fourth?
would recommend next week only because you're gonna want to apply some pressure to some things that don't get done next week. And you're gonna want that extra week
Right. Yeah.
to either sit down and talk.
So we don't go up against
Whoever.
holidays. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So the 5th? I'm sure I can do it. I'll have my book.
You don't have your book.
And the book's over there. It's the brown one. that's
Yeah,
in
I'm
there.
not putting my hand in there.
Chicken! It bites the dog was in there earlier. She was. She crawled right in.
The Newfoundland?
No, it's a boxer. Okay, so that's
Move from
it.
one box of mix.
So yeah, the 5th works if we want to do that evening. What time?
6.
6.
Okay, so,
Putting me in for a reminder.
I'll make my bold here. The 5th and 6th,
the 5th at 6th?
whatever. Somebody call me, I'll tell her we'll be on sometime.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
All,
and again, if you could take a look at some of the numbers that have been plugged in, some of these insurance numbers, which are kind of driving the budget this year as
Yeah.
well.
Those are pretty fixed.
And start thinking about some of the salary pieces that we've already kind of touched upon.
Touch with broad strokes, start
Yeah.
refining those.
Yeah. All right, so, then moving on, I put this one on the agenda for you. We need to know what's going on with Wyndham Solid Waste. Did Marlboro leave the union, the district? They voted to stay.
Got waiting at that.
Whitingham left, but Marlboro was, or maybe it was Dover.
Dover didn't, they was going, they was, had a vote on it, but the people voted down them leaving the district.
Okay, so they stayed in,
Yep,
But
okay.
Whitingham did leave.
yeah.
Whitingham left, Marlboro stayed. Yeah.
It was, I think it was Dover most recently that had.
That was,
Yeah, that
that was,
was-
on- that was a,
But
yeah.
that got, that proposal by the select board and stuff, and one of them was a representative, and so they had a meeting, meeting for people to vote, and they voted to stay in the district. Because otherwise, hazardous waste and all of them things has to be done, you have to do them if you're not in the district, so that they do them.
Yeah, that's that's a question that I've had, like, what do we get out of being in the district?
That's a lot of money.
Well, we don't have, when do you think they're gonna have a budget? I mean, it's usually second week, third week of December.
In fact, I don't know if it's tonight or tomorrow night, or maybe Thursday, that
Yeah.
they're having a meeting on it.
Okay, all right. So I know they've been working on it, and they usually, it's before Christmas that they come back with a number.
Yeah.
But, so I know it's in the process right now.
What-
And they were in a holding pattern this year to see how the legislature and see how the towns worked out. I mean, with all the new and all the changes.
We did sell some
Some of the equipment.
the baler and a couple of things like that, so that money came in. But we borrowed money too, so that's just probably just about wiped out what we borrowed.
Yeah, so it's roughly 16,000 a year.
That's what it has been, but I don't know that it's gonna be that much because they're not doing our recycling anymore. And that used to cover the cost of
Yeah, 'cause
transport.
we're not doing any trucking.
They're not doing any
Right.
Well,
trucking.
but that was the actual for this year was 15.
Yeah, but that's, well, okay, yeah.
But they're not, the trucks are not running up the valley here or
Right.
Dover or anywhere.
Do we still rent or get our dumpsters through them?
We do, they're on loan, basically. They're
Right.
triple
Yeah,
T.
that's one thing that they will be coming up. Want to know if you want them and make sure it's a sign for them and if they decide to sell them and if the town wants to buy it.
We did, we supposedly set aside 6 for us. We were supposed to get a bear-proof one for the food.
Yeah, but I
we
say
didn't.
that's something, I know
Right,
it
yep.
hasn't nothing happened yet, but
No.
it's one thing they're talking about.
Yeah, but Triple T is using wind solid waste dumpsters.
Yeah.
And they would prefer to use their own, much larger one, again, open container, but
Right. I'm gonna open
There'd
up
be
that
a
whole
whole-
can of worms again.
yeah, there'd be a little bit of savings for us, but again, it's just gonna fill up, right? It's not.
No savings after we build the hangar that we gotta put them in.
Well, regardless, that's something that we need to think about is where is that assessment going to land this year, number one. And then we also, when we approved the transfer station for last year, we said we'd give it a year to see how it worked. We need to decide how it worked.
Yeah, we're gonna have to order more bags. I mean, Kathy and I've talked about some of these, and some of these things are coming through. And again, this all has to be part of a budget, which really needs to be done in the next 30 days somehow, so we can get it, in a piece that can be printed in a report. That said, there are some decisions and assessments to make as to whether there are gonna be any changes in the dates or any changes in the financial funding of it. Things to think about.
But again, the transfer station itself, we need to pretty much decide if we're going to move forward with the current format. And if so, we also need to start looking at contingencies because I don't know what the employee situation is going to end up being for too much longer when we get down to it. We have no backup.
New employee, new hire.
New employee, new hunt. There's just lots of different pieces to consider about with the transfer station before
We don't have a backup? I thought we had that.
We can bring somebody to bear, but
Who was in the shop?
we run all as one. Yeah.
No.
But anyway, we need to make the decision about that as we get into budget, so it's something to be thinking about. We did, just to clarify, in the payroll warrant that did it or did it not pass? Yes, it
Payroll
did.
passed it.
That we did take that hour out. That was the question about.
Yep.
And also, this compost irritating thing, like with us having a transfer station, we have to offer it, but the hollows don't. For
Oh, I
either.
know, and
Yeah.
that's supposed to, I thought that was gonna change in July, I thought the
But
haul was then.
we'll
yeah.
probably July, but I say, we got it.
Well, we do right now, we have a
Yeah, no,
barrel.
but I said we have to,
Right.
and you gotta have, still somebody's got some ways to
You know,
haul it.
I was reading through that, and I think we could charge for compost. I don't think it's treated like recycling.
No, that might not be.
I think the way I read it, I'll look at it, I'll send you a copy of it.
Well, then people are gonna put it in their purple bags, we're supposed to get it out of the stream. However, Kathy
Right.
does have a letter. I don't know if you wanna touch that.
Not particularly.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I mean,
We'll talk about
the one thing
Oh,
about,
I saw.
the compost is right now, it's all going in with the triple C stuff and being sorted there.
Right.
You know, it's my understanding, as long as triple T is pulling it out of the mix before it goes into the landfill, we've met the requirements of the state.
Oh, yeah, you,
Yeah.
that way, yes, because Triple T brings it to the Wyndham Solid Waste and they run it through and make topsoil out of it.
But so at this point in time, I don't see any changes.
No, but I say
No.
that, it's one thing that irritates me, that we have to provide it, but the hollows don't. If they come to your house or my
Yeah,
house.
well, we gave them a year reprieve where we had to accept it, but they didn't.
Okay, so is there anything else on the transfer station or Wyndham Solid Waste? All right, is there any other?
The only thing, like on Wyndham Solid Waste now, as long as we belong, if you have, I think it's, I don't know, it's 3 gallons or something like that of hazardous waste, you can get rid of it at the landfill.
On Ferry Road, yeah, Kristen was saying you can always come in with small amounts of
Yeah.
paint or,
Oh, really? I didn't know.
use motor oil or something like that, batteries.
Same way with like TVs and
Thanks.
stuff, and
Computer
computer stuff.
stuff, yeah.
Mhm.
Some of it, there's a
So we
slight
can
charge.
get rid of
for
the
it.
one that's up next to the little shed?
What's
The
that?
the computer screen that's up next to the shed? We can get rid of that down there?
Yeah, that could, you know, I don't know what they charge for computers or not.
No, they don't. Computers, TVs, printers, you know, keyboards, all the peripherals, you can get rid of.
Some certain things they do charge.
Yeah, stereos and speakers and things like that, they do charge for, and,
So if I got one, I can bring it down, just drop it off with Arnold?
No.
TV?
no, not here, we
No.
don't.
I think
Down
you
in
just,
back.
I think you bring it down, you just open the door and set it inside.
Quietly, you don't.
Oh.
All right,
But like, latex paint,
Yeah,
they don't take that down.
well, no, because.
Because you open
can't-
that up and put cat litter or something in it, and it dries right out, and it can go in the landfill.
Right, yeah, it's gotta be solid.
Latex,
Yeah.
not oil-based.
Yeah, we've got a couple of lists kicking around, you know, people do ask now and then, and we send them on. Anyway, yeah, hopefully we'll know what their budget proposal is gonna be in the next, short term, and see if I can talk about it, or Kristen,
They still
and see where
take,
they are.
take batteries,
Yep.
tires,
Fluorescent
all that
bulbs,
stuff
yeah.
for a fee.
Yeah.
And that's the individual that brings it in, pays the fee.
okay, is there any other business then that needs to be discussed? Is there any need for an executive session?
Anything?
I've got one more thing before. Over on Buck Hill Road, just not far from the covered bridge, it up foot of the hill where that stone arch bridge is. The trees had come down and plugged the brook, so it was detouring it back out towards the covered bridge. And I said something to Kurt, and I understand he went over with the backhoe and pulled them trees up, dead trees out of the brook, just so that the water will still stay in the channel instead of coming out and going across the field.
Done?
Okay, anything else? All right. Then the next meeting is on December 12th at 6 PM here, although there's a budget workshop on the 5th at 6 PM here. And if there's nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment at 7:07.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we are adjourned, thank you.